Hello there, survivors, and welcome back to ARK Survival Ascended. Today I'm going to show you how to build this cozy medieval pub with the Castle Keeps and Forts mod. And I think this one really turned out quite nicely with some different layers and some interesting aspects added to all the sides of the build. If you enjoy following along with these build videos, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and let's get going with the build. And I've already laid down a little bit of a foundation, but I'll show you exactly what you need. So this is two shapes kind of together. So this one is 4 by 3 for the main building, and then it's a 3 by 2 for this little side addition with 4 little quarter foundations next to it with some shallow stairs to get a little nice shape. And then first we're going to just kind of circle around with some of these settler pillars, I think these are, just to kind of get like a base for the build, especially for me, because these foundations are quite high. I feel like this just adds a nice little touch in separating the building from the rest. And then we can add some pillars in the corners already to kind of signal where the build is going to be. So this is going to be the main part of our building. And then here in the corners, we can have 2 more, because that's going to kind of get into this side addition. The side addition, yeah, let's also do a little bit of these beams around there. I think that usually works quite well. And we'll do one here. I don't think that's going to be very visible, but why not? Kind of lining out the different rooms and builds that we'll make. And we'll actually raise up this part for the main build section, because we definitely want this one a little bit higher, and then the smaller side building a little bit lower, so that we have a little bit more visual interest into the build in general. I think that would be pretty nice. And I think we'll start here on the side part. I think that's probably the best, and then we'll slowly move on to the main building. So here I'm probably gonna start with some of these, yeah, these half pieces, I guess they are, and just kind of fill in the bottoms, the settler wood. I quite like the look of this, and I'm kind of trying to mix in different building styles for this whole village. So very similar, but not the exact same layers of materials, basically. I like a little bit of the wood here, and then we'll have a nice little door frame here so that we can enter the little pub from here. That should work. And then kind of need to think what we'll do with the walls. I think I want a fireplace here, so then we know there's going to be a full wall behind that, basically. And of course, these new fireplaces in CKF are amazing, because you can kind of build them as tall as you need them to be, so they'll always get through the roof and have the smokestacks where you want them. I guess maybe we can get a little bit of a window going on here. Would be nice, I think, to at least have some kind of window. Maybe this one would be good. And then, of course, there's not going to be a window here, because we already have, yeah, the chimney. So we just want to kind of have a full wall there. I think that works. And then we kind of want to have the piece that we missed for in here. Let's just grab a few of these pieces, actually. And then we can kind of just fill this in. Nothing too much, because we already have enough going on in the front here. And then, yeah, let's work on the rest of this little entrance. I like how the front is looking. So we kind of want to think about, where do we want windows? Where do we want to have anything of a little bit more interest? You know, maybe breaking up the shape that we have. That's kind of the way I go about things usually. So we'll definitely want a little window here, maybe even 2, just to get in the nice views of the river. We could also just have a window here. I might change this later, but I think for now we'll just have a nice little big window, and then have these things to the side to kind of, yeah, build this first part of the pub. I think that works. And then we'll create a little lip here with these ceilings, should we, or should it be one higher? Because the window kind of stops in nothing now. So maybe it's better if we make this just slightly higher, even though we kind of wanted to keep this lower, but we can always raise up the other part to make that a little bit taller. But I think this is probably a better option. Quite like the look of that. And then if we create a little lip, yeah, it shouldn't be so close to the window. I think that's probably better. So we'll just do the same here on this side, and then slowly but surely we get the right shape. We'll go for the small triangles, the quarter triangles here to kind of round off the front of the build. And then I think we want to add in all of this support. So basically take out these little arches. I like to combine the settler tier and the village tier because it kind of looks like the village tier is of course very clean, very nice looking, and the settler tier is a little bit more weathered. So kind of looks like it's maybe a little bit weathered from being there for a long time, and I feel like it adds that little bit of extra character that you can always use in a build. So yeah, I like doing that and playing around because all these textures from this mod kind of fit very well together. So I always like finding ways to blend them in with each other. So there we go. We fill in the little gaps, and that's looking quite nice so far. I don't think we'll have anything too weird going on here. We kind of just want to have a roof because this is supposed to be the lower part, and then the other part of the roof or the building is going to be slightly higher, slightly taller, so that we have like a good 2 different layers in the whole build to make this a little bit more interesting than just your regular house in one piece. So we'll add the roof pieces in here. We start with these very shallow ones. I think it's the 25 degrees. And then we'll maybe we'll just go into the steep ones because we don't have a lot of space here. I think we do want a little bit of height, so we probably can't make the smooth curve I usually do, but I think this still works. This still looks pretty nice. So we'll just go fill this in all the way through. And then we're getting pretty far with this side building. Might still change that front wall, but starting to like the look. It's not too bad. It's maybe we can have some of these above the door, or at least above some of the windows, maybe, just to have a little bit more depth in those walls. I think that's probably a good call. Oh, if it lets me place them. Yeah, I think that works. You know, it creates a little bit of extra interest, right? Like just a little bit nicer to look at in general than just the basic things. And then I guess it's time to fill in this part. We need some of the other building pieces. Probably just gonna go fill this in, nothing too special. It should create that little tiny overhang that you usually have in this shape. We could have windows, but it's not really a logical place for a window, so I think we're just gonna fill it all in because we already have a big window underneath. And then we just need this last piece, and then we're almost there. I think that looks nice. I'm still not quite sure about that wall at the end, but overall I think this definitely works. We're probably not going to have like an extra floor in this layer, but what we might do is play around with some of these beams to kind of, yeah, make some supportive beams there. I think that could look nice. It's always a little bit tricky with these angles. I kind of forget you can't just kind of cycle through all angles you want. You actually need to, yeah, you actually need to look the right way. So this might be a little bit tricky now that we've already got a roof and it's a little bit more crowded, but I'm just gonna have to look and maybe see if this works. There we go. I think that's the right place. Then we want the one in the middle. There we go. And I think we can probably add a little bit more beams in like this. There we go. And then the last part. I hope there's enough room in here. But yeah, that works. We've got some nice beams. Perfect. And then we'll add these end pieces. Just for a little overhang. And I guess we don't really need it, but we might as well kind of extend this even more. Get the right snap point for this one. There we go. Yeah, that looks better. And then we'll do the same over here. Just an extra little bit of overhang is always pretty nice. I'm quite happy, but I still think that one wall we can probably spice up a little bit more because it's a little bit flat-ish. And I'm not entirely sure I like the look of this one. So maybe we kind of bring out the window or something. Let's try that. Let's get rid of a few of these pieces. Oh, not delete those beams that I placed in so carefully. Yeah, so maybe if we place in these corners instead. And we can have those back. And then we can remove the window. And then maybe just bring it out a little bit to add a little bit of that extra depth into it. Maybe we do it from the floor. That might make more sense because then you can actually walk into the little addition, I suppose. And we can just kind of add these around. And then we probably want a little window. Because, I mean, you would still want to have that. And I think we're getting there. I think this is what we want. Just filling in these tops. Yeah, I think probably just keeping it simple like this is probably the way to go. Just connecting it up like that adds a little bit of extra depth to this wall, a little bit of interest. And yeah, I think I like that. Maybe some supports underneath just to kind of bring it back into that building. That should look quite nice, I think. Yeah, that works. I don't think we'll need more. I think this is a little bit cleaner if we keep it like this. Yeah, I like that a lot more. Let's make this wall a lot more interesting than just, you know, the default look. And yeah, we should still be able to get our chimney all the way up into the outside of the build. There we go. Snaps quite easily. Is that the right snap point? I think it was. Yeah. So yeah, we have our little chimney so that we can still get a little smokestack out here, which will be quite nice. So that's going to be this little entrance part of the building. And then I think we're pretty much good to go at that point, right? Like, that looks pretty nice to me. I think I like that. Do we want anything? Yeah, we could add some of the supportive pillars underneath our structure, although it goes into wood there, so maybe we just use wood. That might actually be nice. And then maybe on this side we can still go for the stone. It doesn't really matter too much. This is also very specific for my building, of course, because the foundations here are a little bit higher than just the build itself, because I'm building like a whole village here, and I've kind of got it on the ground plan, which is a lot higher here on the edge of the water. So yeah, this kind of doesn't matter too much for the how to follow along. But yeah, I like that. I think that works. So we might have a little of a beam going across the bottom here at the front. I think that's nice. And yeah, I think I'm happy with that. I think that's enough. So let's start filling in this wall and continue here with the rest of the build. And we can slowly but surely start making the main building here. Because, I mean, yeah, it's going to be a lot bigger, of course, than what we have so far. Once again, we'll start with this little settler tier layer, which is just kind of nice to continue, I think. And brings a little bit of that wooden texture in, which is quite nice. And then you might want to have like a little window here. There's not a lot of window options for the settler tier. Maybe not. Because I would like a little addition here on the front. But I'm not sure if I want the settler windows because they're quite small. You don't really have any variation there, but do I want this little addition? And then a little support. So I'm basically trying to just have a window come out from the building. Create a little bit depth and interest. Yeah, we can have some pillars going up. I think just the one, or do we want to make it a little bit taller? I guess we might as well make it taller, right? Because realistically, I think this whole build needs to be a little bit taller because it needs to be taller as the other build, the side entrance that we made first. So I'm pretty sure that this should work. Nice big tall window. So yeah, that looks nice. All right, gets in a lot of light from the main street here, and then we'll just have some nice wood here at the side to kind of fill in those pieces. That should be good. That looks quite nice. And then we'll bring it in like this, I think. Nice steep pieces, but yeah, I think that's going to be a nice little point of interest here on the walls. You kind of break it up, right? Because this will spawn most of the walls, so this will really make sure that this is not going to feel like a normal flat wall. It's a little bit more interesting to take a look at. So there we go. We've got the little sides, and then we want this little overhang, of course. Do we want it like this? Or maybe, yeah, maybe we have it a little bit steeper like that. That's probably exactly what we want. I like that as a window. And then we can just start filling in these side walls. There we go. Just like this, just to kind of bring it up to the same height of this. I think that's probably a nice texture. And then for the top layer, yeah, maybe we'll use this one. Why not? That's quite nice too. There we go. Do I need anything in there? Maybe I don't need anything in there, right? Yeah, you kind of want to see that, I think. So that should work. That does mean that we need to make this whole thing a little bit taller. But that is fine. Maybe we'll have another little wooden layer there. And that should bring us above the height of this first building, which is kind of what we wanted in total, I think. So we'll have that. And that should... there's lovely friends around us now, but that's fine. Yeah, that should bring us enough height as a build. Some distractions are at hand, but that's fine. Yeah, I like that as a front. I think it kind of gives a unique little touch to it. Let's fill in this corner because that's kind of where we started before I got distracted by everything else. So I think we'll probably just go for these big walls, fill in this section. I guess what we want to do is a blank in the middle and then the other line. There we go. That's probably what we want. And then I guess we'll do the same here on the other side. That makes the most sense, I think. There we go. Kind of mirrors that. And then we have, of course, the building that we'll have to connect, but that's totally fine. We'll bring up these pillars as well all the way. Just like that. And then we'll have the wood here at the top to kind of finish off those layers. And yeah, I think... we can probably blend that into this, right? We can have this beam going across. Probably want to have some railing there at some point. Or can we just close off with a wall? Not sure exactly what we would want to do. Like, what would be the best option? Do we kind of just fill it all in? Maybe we just do... there might be a a floor here, and then that's just going to be easier, right? There we go. And then we'll have the wood layer continue at the top, just like that. I guess that's another wall filled in. Not much of a wall, but we need to fill it in before we get a full build, right? So I think that's probably what we want. What I kind of want to try and do here is make a little sign, like a pub sign that is hanging from this thing. I think that would be pretty nice. Kind of sticking out over the street. Again, bringing in that little bit of interest and depth, and then we'll have a little curve going into it. It's quite short now, though, so we might extend this with maybe like a short pillar. Because that's probably enough. Probably doesn't need to be any wider, because we have the other building. It's going to be quite a narrow street because we want to get that little street village vibe. So there we go. Please give me the right point. There we go. So yeah, now we could have a little sign hanging there, and then just you know, saying pub, and that should be enough, and should be quite nice, I think. So we'll just have the normal hanging sign, or any other hanging sign that you want to use, I suppose, and we'll just add it right underneath, and I think that will be quite nice. And then we can add a little lip here already for the roof eventually. I think what do we do? Do we curve any of the sides? I think this side will probably just continue as is. So we'll just go around like that. We'll go around all the way to the front. And then, yeah, let's use the triangles here to once again have that slight little curve at the front. I think that's a really nice feature to use for these buildings, just to make them a little bit more interesting, because it adds that little extra depth and shape to it. And yeah, it's nice that we have these tiny triangles here in this mod, because very helpful. So we'll start with a layer of these 25, I think it is, roofs, and then we'll go into the tiny what is it, 45 something. I forget the exact angles, but yeah, these small pieces should be quite nice. And then we can continue to the next layer, kind of slowly but surely filling in the roof. And I kind of just want to see the shape of the roof and the height of the building, see if I'm happy with that before I fill in all the walls and everything. Of course, we're still missing quite a bit, but yeah, I usually like doing this because we get a little bit better image of what we've created, especially from the one corner. We should already be starting to look at a pretty complete build. But yeah, I think this is kind of what we wanted, or what I wanted from these different layers. We can have the settler tier here again, filling in that front. So we have a nice little bit of overhang. There we go. Fill in these pieces. And then just fill in the remaining wall here. We're probably going to have some tiny little window in here. That would be nice, right? Just a small little window right there. We'll do the same thing on the other side. I think that works quite well. And then we can fill in these, yeah, remaining pieces. And there we go. We already have quite a nice little build there. There we go. And then we'll add the overhangs, of course. Probably best to just do all of those right away. There we go. We'll go to the next one, which is going to be the bottoms here. Just I love the fact that it's so easy to make overhangs. It saves so much time and trouble trying to make it all fit. If you just know you always have these little pieces to get that working, and just create a nice little natural looking overhang, which is really good. We'll have a little beam going across. I guess we can do the same here at the front. There we go. I kind of feel like something sticking out could be nice here. Maybe. I don't know if that makes sense, but just think something would be nice. Just, again, create that interest, create that depth. Not sure what purpose it would serve, but Just want to have it. Just want to have a little bit details. So yeah, we can connect these pillars as well. And then I guess we work on the supports. Just go around, even though we don't have the walls everywhere yet. That's fine. Just to kind of get the idea going. And then we might do a few additions somewhere. You know, just to kind of break things up. But I always like getting the overall picture a little bit before making my final decisions, especially in this style. You want to, at least I would like some asymmetry in my medieval builds. I feel like that's more realistic. I just like the look of those, so we definitely want to add some details that aren't necessarily the same on both sides. There we go, just filling in these little supports wherever we can. There we go, that looks quite nice. Yeah, I really like the little effect that has by changing them in, and that is already looking quite nice from this angle. So the main angle is definitely starting to work. I do think it would be nice to maybe break up this roof a little bit and create some extra interest, maybe right over here, by just adding a little bit of an extra window here. I think could really work quite well and make it just that slightly more interesting than just the regular normal roofs that we're used to. So we can actually blend that kind of back into this roof, which I think is going to be quite nice. And yeah, just kind of creates an extra window opportunity, I guess, but does also break up the roof, and that is probably for the best. Like, that's probably gonna make it look a whole lot nicer. Yeah, I like that. I want to definitely start playing around with different shapes and different kinds of windows, but for this one I think this will definitely work. Yeah, that adds just that little extra bit in this corner, this angle, which I think works really well. I do want to kind of decorate the roofs a little bit more. I think we can definitely make that work with some of these pillars going across there as well. And then I think we can extend it and it should stick out just that little bit. Just that little bit to create a little bit more interest for the roofs. And then we might be able to spice that up a little bit by adding in these arches and stuff and creating that little bit of a curve at the end, which I think would be really nice. Yeah, that looks quite nice. I like that. I think we should definitely do that for the whole build. There we go. That fits perfectly. And then we can have the little arch on top if it works with me. Yeah, look at that. This is really starting to come together now. This angle looks quite good already. I think we'll probably want this arch at the bottom as well to kind of make sure that it's well supported and that, yeah, it kind of rounds out this look, I think. There we go. Yeah, that's even better. We definitely want that. That adds that little bit of detail in that I have been wanting to add to the roofs, but this is a good way. So I probably will add that to all the buildings in the village as well that I've done so far. But yeah, that really works. That's a nice touch, I think. And we might actually also just have it under there. Still don't really know what that's for, but it's there. And that's all that really matters, doesn't it? I think that looks quite nice. Yeah. Really starting to like this. Maybe we should add in a door. So there, yeah, we have the full picture. We're not doing the inside, at least not yet, but okay, we can also add in a little railing maybe. Kind of add that detail. So this I think is the keep tier, which is quite cool. But I think it works for this occasion. And then maybe we'll add in the little pillar here to, yeah, kind of make that support for the little entryway. There we go. That looks quite nice. And then I think that covers that angle. So that leaves this wall over here on this side. Definitely needs some work. And then, of course, the other side. But let's kind of figure out maybe where the different floors will be. So there's definitely going to be like an attic floor that maybe the owner of the pub might live in, you know. I think that would be nice. Because it's not really going to be like a tavern. I think we'll have a different inn But this will just be just a pub, just to get something to drink, maybe some food. But yeah, there we go. So that would be it. And we have 2 floors, and this one floor will look out kind of over the window, and we'll have some stairs somewhere at some point. We kind of just only need to know where the floors are to work with. Then we can have this little layer at the bottom continued, and then I guess figure out where we want windows and where maybe we'll add something more than that. I don't know. I think 2 windows are very suited here to kind of just make sure that we get some light from here. We have some views from here. It's partially over the river, partially over whatever is going to be right next to this, which I think is going to be nice. And then I guess we can continue, if it will let me, we can continue this wall up and then also into the next floor. So, do we want this? I guess maybe. There we go. We'll fill in those walls. That's a little bit easier. That's looking quite nice. And that looks quite nice as well. Yeah. Why not? Yeah, that works. And I guess what we could do is also adding in some barrels would be nice to kind of symbolize that this is a pub, right? I somehow feel like that will work as part of the sign. Maybe here too, just to kind of, yeah, I feel like that kind of signals this is a pub. I don't know why I think that. The barrel, I just don't think it looks nice on the walls of the pub. So we'll keep that. Maybe we'll change this around. I kind of think it would be nice to have some kind of addition to the side of the building, but we'll see exactly what we'll do. I guess we can just kind of fill in this section. So I'm going back to this. I think I did this before. But yeah, that just works quite well. And then maybe we'll do a little addition. Yeah, we'll just get this out a little bit. We can have some extra supports. It can go up all the way to the top, and it should hopefully work quite well. So let's see about that. There we go. We'll break this up, I suppose. So we'll just make this a little bit narrower, and then we should be able to work this into that roof. That should line up. So we'll bring it up by 1 more, and then it can kind of connect in. I'm kind of bummed that it did line it up with the other side, but maybe that's for the better actually, because otherwise it would be, for a small roof, it would be quite hectic if there would be different things of this size. So I think we can kind of do a similar thing we've done on the other buildings, with a little bit of a wooden structure on the side, blending into the main roof. I think that's going to be quite nice. So we'll have a little window there. We'll have a little bit of I really wish there was more window options, because I somehow don't think we have what we need, but this could work, right? Because it's not really to load in anything or something, I think. So probably this is fine. Then we can have a normal one between. There we go, and then we'll fill in the sides with the wooden structures too, just to make this all nice and finished. There we go, and then the top, of course, it's going to be slightly different, following the shape of the roof to fill it in. We'll have the little gables we'll need to fill in these pieces, and then we're getting pretty close to doing this wall, I think. So add in those pieces. Get the bits on top here. And I guess we'll just have a roof on top of it, and that should kind of work everything in together, right? That breaks up this wall for sure. with the wooden textures as well. We'll have these here. I think that works. And then should we have a window there? We could have. Could be quite nice, maybe. Maybe not. I don't know. A lot has happened. It's a lot to take in. So maybe we just do a little window there. I think that would be nice. Big window. Yeah, why not? I don't know. Just a window. I like windows, okay? The windows on this mod are pretty good. So, why not? That feels quite nice. There we go. I think that's a pretty decent wall. With some interesting things going up, breaking it up and everything. So now we probably want to make sure that we fill in the rest of this build. So we'll add these gables. And then we can start filling in the roof, connecting it back up to the main roof of the building. That should work. There we go. And then we can of course fix the overhangs and everything to blend it completely in with our build. There we go. That's probably a nice angle. This one too. Same thing on the other side. There we go. Yeah, that's nice. I like it. I do really like it. So yeah, it's not the best angle. Of course, the best angle is definitely still the starting angle, but it's a pretty decent wall and added plenty of interest. And then we can also, of course, continue the tradition now of the beams, because I think that works quite well. That's definitely way too far, so we'll need the smaller one here so we can make the little detail that we have on all the ends of the roof now, because I think that looks quite nice. So I think it fits here to have the arch in if it works with me, and then of course the little thing at the top as well. There we go. That is looking quite nice indeed. So we are getting very, very close. We don't need to do much. We just need to kind of have the back of the building. But this pub is definitely coming together. I'm quite liking the way it's looking right now. But we've got one more wall with plenty of opportunity to make something cool out of it. We definitely want to break it up a little bit. So let's see what we could do. So probably we'll just start with a layer like this. Kind of bring in that wooden starting layer for the build that we have all the way around. Let's see, what should we add to this? Yeah, what should we do? Back of the building, but it's gonna have a nice view of the river as well. So we definitely want to keep attention on that as well, that we have some nice viewing points. This angle is definitely looking nice. Just trying to see what we have on the other sides to kind of analyze what each side has. What do we need on this final side? We have the nice windows there. Maybe we do something like that, or maybe we have an adjustment or a little addition like we have on that building. That could be quite nice. So maybe we do one of those over here. I think that could be quite nice, because we kind of just need something to break up this pattern, and I think that could be a nice way. We'll have some quarter ceilings to kind of have that adjustment. I think that's probably enough just to kind of break it up. We can add in all we need, which is just to kind of fill in for this addition. That should look nice. Yes, we'll have the little gables on top, and then we kind of just want a window. I think we just want to do the same thing, so we'll just take out the normal window, and then that one looks quite nice. Of course, we'll have supports and everything, and a nice little roof on top, and I think that will look quite good. So yeah, if you sit close to this window, you'll have quite a nice view of the river, I think. So it's a pretty decent view, I'd say. That's pretty nice. All right, we'll add in all the beams and the supports. There we go. We'll add a little roof to it as well, which should serve it well. What do we need? A little settler roof. I think could be nice. And we'll just fill in these little pieces. So it's slightly different roof than what we use normally, but I think that's probably gonna be quite nice to break it all up. And we'll just have this tiny little addition, which at least for the first floor brings in some details. And we don't have any additions on the first floor except for the side building, so that should work. And we can just fill in these. So the wall for the first layer of the building shouldn't be too difficult. Do we want to add in another window there? And what do we do on this layer is the question. We might want to have a fireplace somewhere here to make it nice and cozy, because we do have one, of course, in the side building, but why not have it on this floor as well to bring in some of that warmth into this biome. And there we go. We'll have a chimney here on this side. I think that's probably gonna work like that. That's probably pretty good. And yeah, that's just a little bit of extra detail, right? That's always a good thing. And then we can continue this layer. I think, what do we want? Yeah, these parts would probably be quite helpful. We can fill this in. Let's see if we have a nice pattern for this situation. There we go. Then we can have another one on the other side, and then one in the middle. That looks quite nice. And then do we just want a wall, or do we just want to have a little bit of a window? I think a little bit of a window would be quite nice. So maybe we'll just do this one so it still makes sense. It's not too blocked off. That looks quite good, doesn't it? And then there's just a tiny sliver, a tiny part of the wall left, which I don't think we need to make too complicated. It's on the top floor, well, except for the attic, of course. So we'll just start nice and easy, which, yeah, that works for sure. Does it? Maybe not. Oh no, because we want to have that little layer at the top still with settler wood. So we'll use the quarter pieces, and then we can bring out these settler pieces to come across. There we go. That's a nice tier there. And then, I mean, we might want to have some windows, right? I feel like it makes sense. There we go. Which one should we pick? There's so many options. I think this would be pretty nice. And then there we go. That's the one we need. And then probably just some windows up there. I feel like that could definitely work. And yeah, there we go. Think that is what we need. We can of course add in a few more details, and of course you definitely want to do the interior and decorate, but I think that gets us pretty close to this one being done. So I'll just add a little bit of the roofs above the windows. I think that's a nice little touch for this one. But yeah, there we go. We have the main angle here. I think that's pretty much what I would do. I might of course add some more detail over time, but yeah, that's pretty much how to build this one. So hopefully you enjoyed watching along, and you can use this base. Thank you so much for joining me today. Of course, don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and of course I hope to see you in the next one. Goodbye.